After I found out I was knocked up, I decided to stop giving a shit. Even when my husband, Patrick, brought his dead best buddy's pregnant widow into our home, I turned a blind eye. He stared at me, his expression murky and unreadable. Chloe's running a bit of a fever. I just brought her here, so she can recover. I politely closed the bedroom door. Take good care of her, then. We used to have hysterical, screaming matches over this bitch, but he never backed down, not even once. It wasn't until I found out I was pregnant that Patrick's attitude finally softened slightly. After Luke died, I swear I just feel sorry for her, because she's carrying his kid. I nodded. Yeah, it gets chilly at night. Make sure you give her an extra blanket, so she doesn't get sicker. Seeing my total indifference, Patrick's eyebrows knitted together tightly. You really don't mind at all? Minding had exhausted me. Right now, all I wanted was to safely deliver this baby, repay him for saving my life years ago, and call it even. Everything else? I truly didn't give a fuck anymore. When I didn't answer immediately, Patrick's frown deepened. He grabbed my hand and refused to let go. She spiked a fever out of nowhere, so I took her to the ER. The doc said she needs observation. She's pregnant, for Christ's sake. I couldn't just leave her alone, so I brought her here to crash for the night. I gave a faint smile and pulled my hand back. I get it. You don't need to explain shit. I'll go sleep in the guest room. Patrick stiffened. Why aren't you asking me anything? I used to ask him a million fucking times. All I ever got in return was him calling me a crazy bitch. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? I asked. Patrick fell silent for a moment, then grabbed my hand again. As soon as she wakes up, I'll send her packing. She's just Luke's. I finished the sentence for him. Luke's wife during that car crash. Luke shoved you out of the way before he died. He begged you to take care of his pregnant wife. You just feel completely guilty. I'm not gonna overthink what's going on between you two. God knows how many times I'd heard that exact script. Patrick looked at me, his face drawn and exhausted. Sarah, what do you want? For me, let her stay, I said calmly. It's not like it's the first time she slept in my fucking bed. Patrick's breath hitched, and his face went pale as a ghost. Half a month ago, I worked overtime until dawn. For the first time ever, Patrick didn't come to pick me up. When I got home, I found Chloe wearing my sleepwear, my slippers, passed out in our marital bed. Her puke had ruined the very first oil portrait Patrick had ever painted for me. And there was Patrick, sitting quietly by her side like a devoted, loving husband. I had shaken uncontrollably and gotten into a massive screaming match with him. You left me stranded in the middle of the night, so you could fool around with her? I had yelled, are you fucking in love with her or something? In the end, Patrick couldn't even be bothered to explain. Stop being such a hysterical bitch.
She's not like you.
Luke spoiled her rotten. She's naive and innocent. She doesn't have the filthy, twisted thoughts you have in your head. Believe whatever the hell you want. My chest ached so densely I didn't even dare to let the tears fall. Unwilling to say another word, Patrick had slammed the door and left. The memory faded as I walked into the guest room to make the bed. Patrick followed me, desperately trying to read some kind of emotion on my face. Too bad for him, there was nothing. He wrapped his arms around me from behind and whispered in my ear, I can fix that portrait. It's in my studio right now. I'll take you to see it tomorrow, okay? His studio. I had almost forgotten about it. He was a professional painter, incredibly anal about anyone stepping foot in his workspace. I had pitched fits about wanting to go in several times, but he always changed the subject. Over the years, I took the hint. I never took a single step inside his sacred studio. The last time I went there was for his birthday. I bought a cake and a high-end gift, wanting to take him out to celebrate. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I saw Chloe inside, her pregnant belly proudly on display, laughing and chatting with him as he painted her portrait. She even casually smeared paint over his finished canvases. And he just laughed it off. It was a territory I was permanently banned from. But Chloe was allowed to do whatever the fuck she wanted in there. We had another blowout fight over it. She just lost her fucking husband, Sarah. She was depressed and wanted to look at my art. He had yelled, when did you become such a jealous, petty bitch? He had slammed the door and walked out. He never even glanced at the gift I bought him. I patted the pillowcase now. It's just a painting. Don't sweat it. Patrick froze, staring at me in utterly shocked disbelief. Just a painting? That was the first portrait I ever painted of you. You said it was your favorite thing in the world. I didn't reply. I just lay down calmly. I have no idea how long Patrick stood by the bed before he finally walked away. In the middle of the night, my calf cramped up. Ever since I got knocked up, my body felt like complete trash. I got up to grab my massage roller. Through the crack in the master bedroom door, I saw Patrick massaging the back of Chloe's calves. Patrick, maybe I should just go. If Sarah finds out, she's gonna tear you a new one again, Chloe whimpered. Patrick was quiet for a beat. It's not your fault. It's fine. Really? But lately, I feel like you've been ignoring my texts. If Luke were still here, her voice cracked into that pathetic, whiny sob she always used. I'm sorry. I failed both of you, Patrick murmured. The cramp in my leg twisted sharper. I pushed the door open. Excuse me. Seeing me? Patrick instantly dropped Chloe's leg and shot up like he'd been electrocuted. Chloe, over 8 months along, awkwardly propped herself up. Sarah, please don't get the wrong idea. My leg cramped up, and I asked Patrick too. It's fine. Just grabbing something. I didn't even really look at them. I grabbed the massage roller from the nightstand. Sorry to interrupt the show. Keep going. Chloe's face stiffened as she cast a nervous, pleading glance at Patrick. After packing Chloe off the next morning, Patrick came to my room. He pinched the bridge of his nose, sounding exhausted. Sarah, let's talk. Me and Chloe. I thought he was going to say something profound. Nope. Same old bullshit. I know. I cut him off. You feel guilty about Luke. You just want to make it up to his widow and kid. I totally get it. I don't mind. Patrick's face drained of color. Really? But before you... I cracked a smile. Believe whatever the hell you want. That was the exact line he threw in my face when I used to cry and scream. Now I was feeding it right back to him. He rubbed his face hard, dropped to one knee, and grabbed my calf. Let me rub that for you. I didn't stop him. From this angle, I had a perfect view of the nasty scar on the side of his neck. During our 3rd year of dating on New Year's Eve, a massive crowd crash happened down in the city square. Patrick used his own arms to physically barricade me into a corner, carving out a tiny pocket of air so I wouldn't get trampled to death. A sharp piece of debris sliced his neck wide open. As his blood sprayed everywhere, he still managed to choke out. Sarah, don't be scared. I've got you. If that cut had been a millimeter deeper, he would have bled out on the spot. Without him, I'd be a corpse. Sarah, I snapped out of it. His tone was almost begging. Let me sleep in here with you tonight. I'll change all the sheets in the master bedroom tomorrow. You honestly shouldn't have let her leave. What if she feels sick again? I said. He paused his massaging. She's a single woman. It's inappropriate for her to crash here. After a few more rubs, his phone rang. It was Chloe. He glanced at me and put it on speaker. Patrick. I twisted my ankle and fell. My stomach hurts so bad, and I can't get up. Can you please come help me? Patrick instinctively started walking toward the door, then stopped dead when he looked at me. He opened his mouth, torn. I beat him to it. See? I told you she should have stayed. His brow furrowed tightly. I'll go check on her. I'll be right back. I held my breath and placed a hand over my stomach. I lay down, clutching my abdomen, totally unable to sleep. Years of memories came flooding back. After we got married, Patrick was diagnosed with severe low sperm motility. Even with IVF, the doctor said he only had one realistic shot. We lost so much sleep those days. More than once, I caught him crying silently, holding a drafted divorce agreement, only to hide it away. I was the one who pulled him out of it. We loved each other. He saved my fucking life. Even though the IVF process was pure torture, I wanted to grow old with him and have his babies. During that exact time, Luke died, leaving a knocked-up Chloe behind. I had to take 5 injections a day, swallow handfuls of pills, and get ultrasounds and blood drawn every 48 hours. At first, Patrick was with me for every single appointment. But eventually, when I was getting jammed with needles, he was accompanying Chloe to her OBGYN. When I was getting my blood drawn, he was helping Chloe pack her hospital bag. We fought more and more. Then came the egg retrieval day. I lay on the operating table, naked from the waist down, enduring the excruciating agony of an 8-inch needle piercing my ovaries. I bit my lip until it bled, tears streaming down my face. I kept telling myself that once we had a baby, Patrick would realize who actually mattered in his fucking life. But when they wheeled me out of the OR, he was nowhere to be found. Just a quick text on my phone. Chloe is threatening to jump off the roof. I had to go. The doctors are looking after you. So don't worry. Before I could even process the heartbreak, Chloe purposely called me. She was crying on the other end, Patrick. If Luke was still alive, I wouldn't be so alone. You and Sarah have such a good thing going, and I could have had that too. How could Luke just abandon us like this? Patrick's trembling, sympathetic voice came through clearly. I will never abandon you. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life. The betrayal made my physical pain infinitely worse. I snapped. I called Chloe every filthy name in the book over the phone. When Patrick got back to the hospital, we had the mother of all fights. She is pregnant, and she just lost her husband. She has severe depression. How could you call her a fucking whore? Are you trying to drive her to suicide? He roared. How did you become such a cold, heartless bitch? I am so disappointed in you. I screamed back that I wished I never met him and that the only good thing I've gotten from him is his worthless, cheap love. Patrick looked at me like I'd slapped him. For a second, something ugly flashed across his face. Then hurt. Cheap love, he repeated hoarsely. Yeah. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. You heard me. The hospital room seemed to shrink around us. I spent months pumping my body full of hormones for our child. Months. I laughed bitterly. I was lying on an operating table while needles were shoved into my ovaries, and all you could think about was Chloe. Sarah. No. For once, I didn't let him interrupt. When I was terrified, you weren't there. When I was in pain, you weren't there. When I needed my husband, you chose her. His jaw tightened. She needed help. So did I. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. I was your wife. The words landed like stones. And somehow I still came second. Patrick stared at the floor. For the first time, he had absolutely nothing to say. Because there wasn't a single excuse left. I rolled over and faced the wall. Get out, Sarah. Get out. Eventually he left. The door clicked shut. And I cried until there were no tears left. A week later, the fertility clinic called. I was at work when I got the results. Positive. I was pregnant. Actually pregnant. Not another failed cycle. Not another chemical pregnancy. Not another disappointment. A real baby. I sat in my office staring at the test results while my hands shook. The first person I wanted to tell was Patrick. The realization hit me so hard it nearly knocked the air from my lungs. Even after everything, even after all the hurt, my first instinct was still him. I stared at his contact for nearly 10 minutes. Then I closed my phone. No. Not anymore. I wasn't going to chase him. Not this time. Patrick found out 3 days later. The clinic accidentally called his number instead of mine. I was halfway through dinner when the front door burst open. Sarah? His voice echoed through the house. I looked up calmly. He was breathing hard. His eyes were red. You're pregnant. I took another bite of food. Looks like it. For a moment he simply stood there. Then his entire face crumpled. Pure joy. The kind I hadn't seen in years. He dropped to his knees beside me. His hands trembled as they reached for my stomach. Our baby. I nodded. Our baby. He actually laughed. Then cried. At the same time. I'd never seen Patrick cry openly before. Not even when Luke died. Not even during all the failed IVF cycles. But now tears streamed freely down his face. We did it. Something twisted painfully inside my chest. Because years ago, this was all I had wanted. To celebrate together. To be happy together. Instead it felt like watching a memory that belonged to someone else. Patrick seemed to notice. The smile slowly faded. Sarah? I stood. I'm tired. His hand froze in midair. Sarah.
What?
The desperation in his eyes almost made me look away. Why do I feel like you're leaving me? The room fell silent. I looked at him for a long time, then smiled. A small smile, a tired one, because I already did. The color drained from his face.
Completely.
After that, Patrick changed. At first it was subtle. He stopped answering Chloe's calls immediately. Then he stopped going over every time she cried. Then he started coming home earlier. He attended every prenatal appointment, every ultrasound, every checkup, every class, exactly the way he used to before Luke died. It should have made me happy. Instead, I felt strangely detached, like I was watching someone else's marriage. One evening, while we waited for an appointment, Patrick suddenly asked, "When did you stop loving me?" I looked down at the sonogram picture. I didn't. His eyes brightened. Then I continued. "I just stopped hoping." The brightness vanished instantly. And somehow that answer hurt him even more. Months later, Chloe gave birth. A healthy baby boy. Patrick visited once. Just once. When he came home that night, he sat beside me for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "I think I've been grieving Luke wrong." I stayed quiet. He rubbed his face. I kept trying to save what he left behind. His voice shook. And somewhere along the way, I forgot to protect what was already mine. For the first time in years, there were no excuses. No Chloe. No guilt. No misunderstandings. Just the truth. Raw and ugly. And far too late. I rested a hand on my stomach. The baby kicked. Patrick's eyes immediately softened. He placed his hand beside mine.
Carefully.
Like he didn't deserve even that much. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. I honestly didn't know anymore. All I knew was that the desperate, heartbroken woman who used to scream and cry for his attention was gone. In her place was a mother. And every ounce of love she had left belonged to the tiny life growing inside her. Whether Patrick earned a place beside them would be up to him. The day our daughter was born, Patrick cried harder than I did. He stood beside the hospital bed holding her tiny hand while tears streamed down his face. "She has your eyes," he whispered. I looked at the baby sleeping peacefully in my arms. Yeah. For a brief moment, everything felt almost normal. Almost. Then I handed him an envelope. Patrick frowned. "What's this?" "Open it." The smile slowly disappeared from his face. His hands started shaking before he'd even finished reading. Divorce papers. The room went completely silent. Even the monitor seemed louder. Patrick looked up at me like he'd been stabbed.
No.
His voice was barely audible.
No.
"I already signed." His face turned white. "Sarah, no. I waited until she was born." He looked down at our daughter, then back at me. Terror flooded his eyes. Real terror. The kind that comes when someone finally realizes they're losing something they thought would always stay. "You can't leave." "I can." His voice cracked. "I changed." "You did." "Then why?" I looked at him quietly. "Because I needed you years ago." The words hit harder than any scream ever could. "You changed after I stopped asking." Patrick just stared at me, unable to argue, unable to deny it. Because it was true. When I begged, he ignored me. When I cried, he called me hysterical. When I fought for a marriage, he chose Chloe again and again. Only after I gave up did he finally start paying attention. And by then, there wasn't enough left to save. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Patrick didn't contest a single thing. Not because he agreed. Because he knew he had no defense. He signed every page with trembling hands. The entire process aged him years. His paintings stopped selling as well. His friends noticed he barely spoke anymore. He'd stare at his phone for hours waiting for pictures of our daughter. Waiting for the weekends when he was allowed to see her. Waiting for a family he once had. And lost. As for Chloe, the moment she realized Patrick was truly divorced, she made her move. Again. One evening she showed up at his apartment carrying her son. "I don't want us to be alone anymore." Patrick's expression didn't change. "Go home." Her smile froze. "Patrick." Go home. She stared at him,
confused.
After all these years, hadn't this been what she wanted? His attention, his protection, his devotion. But the truth was cruel. The thing Patrick mourned wasn't Luke. And it wasn't Chloe. It was me. The woman he neglected while chasing his guilt. The marriage he destroyed with his own hands. The daughter who would grow up in 2 homes because of his choices. Eventually Chloe's face twisted. After everything I went through? Patrick finally looked at her. And for the first time, there wasn't an ounce of softness left. Everything you went through? His laugh sounded bitter. You weren't the only one who lost Luke. Chloe went silent. You just weren't the only person I abandoned. He closed the door, right in her face. A year later, I was happier than I'd been in a long time. My daughter was healthy. My career was thriving. The constant anxiety that had haunted me for years had disappeared. One afternoon, while pushing a stroller through the park, I spotted Patrick sitting alone on a bench, sketchbook in hand. He looked thinner, older, tired. When he saw us, his entire face softened. Daddy, our daughter squealed. He immediately stood. The smile that appeared on his face was genuine.
Pure.
He loved her with everything he had. I never doubted that. After spending time with her, he walked beside me toward the parking lot. For a while neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, I still love you. I didn't answer, because some truths no longer needed responses. He smiled sadly. Yeah, I figured. At the car, he helped buckle our daughter into her seat, then stepped back, watching us. The way a man watches a home he can no longer enter. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Patrick was still standing there, alone. Not because fate was cruel. Not because Chloe ruined his life. Not because Luke died. But because every time he was forced to choose between guilt and his wife, he chose guilt. And eventually his wife chose herself.